What's up, guys? Rick here with your DFS preview for this week's 3M Open. We roll on. Open Championship in the books. There are only 2 events left in the regular season. Then we're going to go straight into the playoffs. Then we're going to be at a Ryder Cup. Then we're going to be at the new fall swing. Like, it's crazy stuff. But we roll on TPC Twin Cities for this week. We'll dive through the golf course with data. We'll look at the field with, data, and we'll see what we can find for this week. Let's go. TPC Twin Cities plays host. This is only, the 5th year this event has been played? Remember, they brought this out with the Rocket Mortgage, right? It was like the 2 new events that came onto the schedule at the same time. So this has much fewer years of data than other places, but 4 years I think is starting to be plenty, especially with the types of winners that we've seen around this place. Talk about that here in just 1 second. So this is the regression model on RickRunGood.com. Everything you see from here is probably from my website, RickRunGood.com, or I will show you like this from Google Earth. What you'll notice as the defining feature around this place is all the water that's lurking, right? Many of the tee shots, many of the second shots have water in play. That is why you will see some big numbers, right? You're going to see somebody who drives it here on I think this is 18 right here, drives it here, dunks 2 in the water, and makes an 8 or a 9, right? We've seen DJ do it. I think we've seen Hideki do it a couple times. Like, that is certainly out there, and there's just water on most drives and most second shots. The other thing to consider is, so you have to be a strong driver, but the rough is pretty weak, to be honest with you. So what we have seen historically is drive it long, keep it out of the water, and that's your path to success, right? Like, keeping it out of the water. I know I'm like easier said than done, but that's the game plan around here. When you think about the winners, right? So think about who's won, or think about who has had success here. Matthew Wolff won at year 1. Tony Finau has won here. I'm missing another bomber. It was Michael Thompson was 1 year, and then the 4th year that I'm missing, Cam Champ. So 3 of the 4 winners are like long, probably pretty inaccurate. Finau's more on the accurate side. Keep the water out of play, be a strong driver. That seems to be the path. The regression model, it actually does not like driving distance as much as the eye test does. So the way that this works is it doesn't just look at the winners. It looks at every finishing position, every golfer, and their stats for each year, and starts to build out a model of the types of golfers that should have success at this golf course. And driving distance is actually pretty far down the list. Accuracy is much more important. Now, you have to decide here. Do you want to bend the knee to the model? Do you want to go with the sniff test? Do you want to do a little bit of both? I'll probably go with a little bit of both. So you'll see when you scroll down and look at the adjusted fit numbers, you're going to get some of the more accurate guys as opposed to some more of the distance guys, right? Fox is he's such a strong driver. He kind of fits both of these, and he putts it well. But then you get Norin, Hubbard, Aaron Rai, Sepp Straka, JJ Spawn, Emiliano Grillo, right? You would never consider those guys bombers. So kind of 2 different ways to build this week. And when we get to the custom model, I think that's what I'll end up doing. Lineups will either be accurate guys, will be distance guys. You know what I mean? I can kind of make a couple of different sets there. But I do like, just looking at the sniff test, looking at the golf course, if you can drive it well and keep it out of play, you've got larger than average greens. They are not particularly difficult to putt on. This is, to me, this is a bomber's place. Before we jump into the cheat sheet, hat tip to Josh CG 2013, who won our listener league last week. It's tier style pick'em. Scheffler, Homa, Harmon, Tom Kim, Sepp Straka, Kurt Kitayama, 24 under par for Josh. He wins $540. I'll tell you what, hat tip to Hello Wabbit, who finished 1 stroke behind, a tie for second, and did not have Brian Harmon. Which, when Brian Harmon wins by 5 or 6 shots, wowza. To not have that guy, it's a really good lineup. Hovland, Fitzpatrick, Young, Kim, Straka, Dietrich. That's a tie for second. The link is in the description for this week's contest. $15, 3 entry max, 250 entries. Let's just fill it up quickly and move on. We can continue to do this every single week. I'm getting some pretty good feedback in that realm. Okay. the cheat sheet. RickRunGood.com. Lots of interesting names here. 4 golfers over $10,000. Cam Young, 10-9. Tony Finau, 10-6. Sungjae Im, 10-3. Hideki Matsuyama, $10,000. Let's start at the top of the board. Cam Young, well-deserving. Look at that. Brian Harman gets the default, tab or golfer profile there. So what Cam Young did last week was pretty spectacular around Royal Liverpool. Gained 16.8 strokes ball striking. 14.8 from tee to green. Was horrible around the greens. Was horrible on the greens. Finished T8. It's going to be expensive. I worry about a little bit of a letdown week. I worry a little bit of, coming back and having to reset for a 3M Open. But with Paul Tesori on the bag, who should be able to get him ready, I mean, this is the stat profile you want, right? I think Cam Young is generally one of the guys, knock on wood, that I think I have a pretty good feel on because his stat profile, like he plays to his trends. You see him heading in the right direction, or when you see him heading in the wrong direction, he continues there, right? It's kind of pretty transparent. He's one of the more transparent guys on tour. I'm a little bit worried this week, but this should be a great spot for him. I don't know what that ownership is going to look like with Tony Finau rocking and rolling right below him, and then Sungjae Im and Hideki Matsuyama. Maybe people skip the 10K range altogether because they're worried about guys coming back from the UK. I don't know. By the time we get to the Wednesday live chat, 3 p.m. Eastern time, Rick Run Good YouTube channel, we'll have a much better idea of what the projected ownership is going to be. This is the stat profile, the type of golfer that should be able to win around TPC Twin Cities. I love everything about this. Keep it in play. The other thing, I had one other note about Cam Young. What am I forgetting? Oh, so he switched back to the ball that he was using last year. So from my understanding, before the John Deere Classic, he switched back to the Titleist Pro V1, the left dash model. I think it is now available in stores, but this was a model of golf ball that you could only get from Titleist if you were a pro. I think they do sell it now, but I think they're hard to get your hands on. So he is back to that model of golf ball from my understanding, which is what he went back to at TPC Deer Run. The stats have been a lot better since then. Maybe it's mental. Maybe it is actually something in his game that fits, but I wanted to point that out. If you have more information on that and you want to hit me up with that information, I'm happy to pass it along and share it. So Tony Finau is next. And, you got to be pretty worried about the state of Tony Finau's game. And this is where you get, what is it? A rock meeting, a hard place or whatever. Like what's going to happen here? You've got elite course history, 23rd, 3rd, 28th win at the 3M Open. He's played it every single year of its existence and he's played it well. And then you've got basically the worst form that Tony Finau has had in a year, maybe longer. I continue to be worried about this stat profile, right? It's 3 missed cuts in his last 5. He's, since the win in Mexico, he hasn't really been good anywhere. He has lost the putter, which is something that was really spurring him along. He's not driving it as well. His second shots used to be elite. They're no longer elite. This is a kind of a recipe for disaster, quite frankly, if you ask me. So this is too expensive when you've got Cam Young at 10-9, Sungjae, who I don't even mind this week. Hideki, I think is fine or more than fine. So I imagine Finau is going to be pretty low owned, and I think that's warranted. Sungjae Im and Hideki are next. Sungjae, I believe, has kind of broken out of this little bit of a slump that he is in. His history around TPC Twin Cities is very, very good. T15 and a runner-up finish in his 2 trips, 19 and 22. We're starting to see the positive gains on approach again. Remember when he hemorrhaged strokes at Oak Hill and Colonial, like 8.5 strokes on approach in those 2 missed cuts. He's back to be back to being a positive ball striker again. When he is right, he is long, accurate, a good second shot player, and a tidy little short game. He has not been as good with the driver recently, but again, if I'm looking for upside, if I'm looking for a guy to give me like his A- stuff, Sungjae's A- stuff is perfect for this golf course. So I think that what I'm kind of hoping is everybody wants to play Cam Young. Nobody wants to play Tony Finau. Everybody wants to go down to Emiliano Grillo and Sepp Straka and Ludwig and all that fun stuff, and we can get a little bit of a discount on Sungjae. I have no idea if that's going to happen. We'll see. It's very early in the week. The salaries just came out. And then Hideki's the final guy. Hideki is always lower owned than he should be. He had the T7 here in 2019, and then this WD, which if I remember correctly, he was the guy who hit like 2 or 3 balls in the water in a row, and he's just like, I'm done. I'm gonna get out of here. I believe that was the WD that he had, but I don't think people realize how good he's been. It's not a bunch of top 10 finishes, but it's a bunch of finishes between like 13th and 16th. I mean, he was T13 at the Open Championship last week. I'm not sure I saw a single shot of him on the coverage. Seriously, he putted it beautifully. Slow greens, that kind of makes sense. The approach play was strong. The driving was strong. I mean, this is a very, very good stat profile. I wonder if we go, last, 35, 36 rounds here, and we look at just raw strokes gained approach. I wonder where Hideki's going to show. He's the third best approach player in this field over the last 35 rounds. Like, are you joking me? Why are we, does anybody know that? Does anybody care about that? So what you're going to end up seeing me with is probably, in a vacuum, I think Cam Young's the best option. By the time we get to Thursday morning, I think that if you're trying to win all the money, the Sung J M Hideki start would be rather interesting. But yeah, I just feel like he's brewing, and I'm not sure how many people know. Now, here you go. The 9K range. Grillo, Sepp Straka, Ludwig Aberg, Justin Thomas, Gary Woodland, Steven Yeager, Cam Davis. All right. There is a lot to unwrap here. Emiliano Grillo, this is going to be Emiliano Grillo chalk week. I love Grillo, right? I've been tracking this guy for a year, and when he started to figure out the putter, it was all aboard, and then he kind of lost that a little bit. But he's having a phenomenal year, right? I love everything about Grillo. However, this is the type of guy that when he is 22% owned or whatever it's going to end up being, scares the dickens out of me. I mean, he's got the great history around the 3M Open, the great run, 8.5 strokes ball striking at Royal Liverpool. This is a golf course where big numbers lurk. This is a golf course where you can put a couple in the water. It is, while he has a ton of upside, which I love, he's missed 3 of his last 7 cuts. He is not immune to losing a stroke and a half on approach. He is not immune to losing a bunch of strokes around the green. This is purely going to be game theory oriented. I will probably not end up with him because he's going to be very, very popular, but there are definitely some flags here. There are definitely some flags that would concern me. If he was 7% owned, I'd have 100% of him. If he's 25% owned, I'll have like 5% of him, right? Like something like that. It's just, I don't think you can be involved in a chalky Grillo or really a chalky anybody this week, right? I mean, think about when Dustin Johnson coughed it. Like, anybody can cough it up around here. This is a pretty volatile golf course. Lots of missed cuts around this place. I mean, even the guys that have good course history, right? This reminds me a lot of Torrey Pines. Torrey Pines is similar in this fashion, where you have guys that are like 3rd, missed cut, 10th. It's kind of the same around here. Grillo has a 2nd, a 3rd, and a missed cut. Straka, missed cut, and an 18th. Even the guys with good, strong history have missed the cut here. And being on the chalky side of things really, really scares me. We have to do a deep dive into Sepp Straka. This guy's an absolute nut job. I like the idea of Straka. What is it called? PGA National, Honda Classic, is, I think, a pretty decent comp around this place. It's water lurking everywhere. This course is easier, but he's obviously won that event. He's coming off the win at the John Deere 2 starts ago and a T2 at the Open, where the ball striking numbers have generally been very good dating back to the PGA Championship, right? So I'm okay with this. If you look at the power rankings and just look at raw strokes gained last 35 rounds, Sepp Straka is the 6th best player in this field. So you're getting a pretty decent look at a guy that I think this is an okay course fit for. Again, there's that cut T18 missed cut situation. He has been good ball striking in all 3 of those. He just kind of coughs it up in some of the short game categories. So this will be interesting. If everybody goes to Grillo, I'm happy to go to Sepp Straka, because I also think that everybody's going to go to Ludwig, who's at 9,400. This is a fascinating 9K range. If you flip this around and go to the trends tool here, which this shows you every golfer's 100 round baseline, then compared to whatever number of rounds that you want. We'll go with 36 here. And you go to this 9K range, like look at how hot Emiliano Grillo is to himself. Basically, he's gaining 2/3 of a stroke, 0.64 to himself, right? Which is crazy. Now look how he's doing it. Half is on approach, awesome. Half is with the putter. A little scary. Straka is the same level of playing above himself. His baseline's not as high, but he's doing it more well-rounded, doing it more off the tee, doing it more from tee to green. That's better, but Straka's baseline is not as good as Grillo's baseline. Then you get guys like JT. JT is the amount that Grillo and Straka are up to themselves, JT is down to himself. So JT is losing 2/3 of a stroke to himself over the last 36 rounds. So he is basically, this version of himself is basically a tour average player, which is wild. Absolutely wild to think about. So paying $9,300 for a tour average golfer on a golf course with a lot of big numbers lurking, probably not going to happen for me. So that's why I think you're getting a lot of extremes in this 9K range. I think you're going to get like Grillo, who's 25% owned, Ludwig, who's like 18, and then you're going to get like other guys are like 6%, right? I don't think the ownership's going to be very spread out here, which makes for some compelling lineup builds. Quickly on Cam Davis, Cam Davis, who when you get him on wider courses where distance matters, rough doesn't, that's where you want him. T12, T28, T16 in his last 3 trips to this event. He's been playing better golf. He didn't play well at the Renaissance Club. I'm not going to kill him for that. We haven't seen him since the Scottish Open. Again, Detroit Golf Club, kind of, similar in skill set. He finished T17 in the start before. Volatile for sure. Could be a guy who ejects, but could be a guy who is inside the top 10. I don't mind that one single bit. Before we kick off that 8K range, I do want to go back and look at this strokes gain trend tool. So the way that this works is take your 100 round baseline, you take what you're doing the last 36 rounds, you add it up, you get this strokes gain trend number. Emiliano Grillo, the hottest, quote unquote, golfer in the field. Vincent Norman is second, 8,100. Mark Hubbard is fourth after Hideki, 83. So those are 2 guys in the range that we're going to talk about. I'm going to spend a lot of time on Norman here in just 1 second. But I love this tool. Shows you how guys are doing it. It's one of my favorite things. If you scroll down, you can actually see kind of who's ready for a little bit of a breakout, who's hitting it well from tee to green, who's getting unlucky with the flat stick. JJ Spawn, Brandon Matthews, Matt Neesmith, Grayson Sigg, Hideki, Lucas Glover. Those would be guys in the correct quadrant that you want to be in. Guys that you don't want down here in the bottom right, that's the bad quadrant. That's hitting it poorly and getting lucky with the flat stick, which is a bad combination. While I have this open, what I'm also going to do is just show you everybody in this field at the 3M Open. Now, remember, it's only 4 years, so we don't have a ton of guys with a ton of history, but Sungjae is the best player in this field, 2.68 strokes gained per round in 8 rounds. Finau, 16 rounds. He's second. Grillo and Hadwin, third and fourth. Poston's got 8 rounds, 1.64. So Poston, actually, what did Poston do last week? Because he had put together back-to-back T6 finishes, and then T41. I'll tell you what, I didn't think Royal Liverpool was that good of a spot for him. I think I said that last week, and he didn't really putt all that well. I'd go back to Poston. How much is he? 84. Okay, he's in this range. So we've already kind of identified golfers that I think are interesting here. So, let's start with Vincent Norman, the Candyman. That's I got to give credit to Sean Martin from the PGA Tour, nicknamed him the Candyman. He grew up in Sweden and worked at like a candy shop or something. Okay, you may not have noticed because this is 2 opposite field events in a row, but Vincent Norman won the Barbasol and finished T5 at the Barracuda. Okay, he also finished T24 at the Rocket Mortgage. If you have ever seen Vincent Norman, I had the pleasure of watching him a lot earlier here in the year at the West Coast Swing. This dude is Mash City, okay? He is very, very long off the tee. I'm sure it's, let's see what his stats are. Yeah, he's 9th in driving distance. He's very inaccurate, but this is the Cam Champ, kind of Matthew Wolff, that model of golfer, right? Goes for a bunch of greens, this is it. And now he's playing great golf. He's got his PGA Tour card locked up. He's in the winner's circle. This is the guy. Like, I love this guy this week. I love it. I love that he plays the week after his first ever win and plays well. I love that. He didn't even drive it well at the Barracuda. I love this. He's cool too. Feels like a cool guy. He is $8,100. He'll probably be pretty popular. I do wonder what people are going to do with Glover, right? You know, we haven't seen him since this really great run of golf. John Deere, Rocket Mortgage. We know he's putting better. He's got the different putter in the bag, a little bit more confidence, all that fun stuff. So in that 9K range where, you know, there's a lot of extremes, this is kind of the more consistent range, right? I think Poston's interesting. Hubbard's interesting. Glover. Obviously, I love Vincent Norman. There's a lot of interesting guys. I mean, Patrick Rogers lost in a playoff last week. JJ Spawn is like the biggest bounce back candidate. Bo Hostler played well at Barracuda. Let's look at Bo. Bo's sneaky long. What's Bo done at this event? Not well. Miscut, T49, miscut, T34, T26 at the John Deere, T6 at the Barracuda. Sneaky long. His approach play is getting much, much better. The putter's still good. Interesting stuff. By the way, before anybody asks, I don't know what happened, and I have to reach out to the tour because I get my data from them. They had no around the green data for Barracuda. None. Just every single player, every single round, there was no around the green data. That's obviously not true, but I'll get that. That's why you're seeing a blank square there. That's for everybody. I'll have to reach out to the tour. Actually, by the time you're watching this, I'm sure I've already sent them an email, but I'll get that correct. But that's what you're seeing there. But that's straight from them. I don't know. Not sure what happened. So just to put a bow on this range, Norman is the second best player in this field over the last 35 rounds, raw strokes gained. Hubbard is fourth. Adam Hadwin is ninth. Those are the guys in the 8K range. Okay. Trying to see if there's anybody else that makes sense. How is Eric Cole $7,800? I guess we should just get to him next. $7,000. How is Eric Cole $7,800? In what planet are we on? Eric Cole, the man who hasn't missed a cut since Colonial. He's not driving it very well. Who is a very strong second shot player. Who is having, I'll tell you what, he's having, he had a good major season as well. I just don't know why he is so cheap. Played well at Honda, which I think is a pretty decent comp. He's really driving it poorly. I hate to see that. But he should not be $7,800. Am I right? There are a lot of really good drivers in this range, right? Like Nikolai Højgaard coming back from the Open. He went 23rd and 6th at the Scottish and the Open. Pendrith, just raw talent. This is a good spot for him. Akshay's coming off the victory at the Barracuda. Cam Champ. I'll spend a little bit of time on Cam Champ because what do we know about Cam Champ? He is also pretty consistent in that he does not need a lot of form to pop. You see it all the time, right? 5 or 6 missed cuts, T8 in Mexico. I think we might be getting some pretty good timing from him right now. So he goes 3 missed cuts in a row, 51st at John Deere, T17 at Barracuda, in which he gained nearly 10 strokes on approach. So obviously he's a positive driver of the golf ball. Did he find something last week at the Barracuda? And this is a golf course that he has won and finished T16 at in the last 2 years. I want to see what his form was. Yeah. So here's the other thing. He is kind of one of these guys that shows up at golf courses that are good fits for him, and it just does not matter what his fit is or what his form is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 missed cuts in a row last year, T16. Detroit Golf Club, the following start, T20. So I'm telling you, Cam Champ is like a course fit guy. You go to a course that allows him to bomb it anywhere, he plays well. But there's a ton of other spots where he's going to get into a lot of trouble. What I also want to do, because we don't have a lot, and we're seeing this pop, I'm just noticing this a lot. You're seeing Rocket Mortgage, you're seeing Honda, you're seeing 3M Open. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do everybody in the Holy Grail for those 3 tournaments. So 3M Open, Honda. Oh, it's the Honda Classic. And Rocket Mortgage. If you hold control, or Command on a Mac, you can select multiple basically anywhere on the website. So guys with a large sample size, let's call it 16 rounds. Taylor Pendrith is 1.82 strokes gained in those events. Sung Jae's got a ton of rounds at all of those events. 1.62. Hadwin, Finau, JT's actually inside the top 5. Alex Noren. Look at this run. Look at this run. Rocket Mortgage T9, Honda T5, Rocket Mortgage T4, Honda T46, 3M Open T3. I wonder if this is because I'm trying to think of Rocket Mortgage. Rocket Mortgage doesn't have like water out there, but like I'm trying to think of Honda and I'm trying to think where because the guy like never misses right, but I feel like the trouble is on the right here. Or I'm sorry, he never misses left. He has that like way over the top. Interesting. Alex Noren, Cam Davis is up there as well. Where's Cam Champ? Here's Cam Champ. 0.65 over 26 rounds. Missed the cut at the Rocket Mortgage this year. His 3 starts before that, T20, T16, and a win at these events. Has never played the Honda. Interesting. All right. I just saw that popping up a lot for guys that have success at those events. So I wanted to dive a little bit deeper into it. Austin Eckroat is back. I'm hoping everyone forgets about Austin Eckroat. Haven't seen him since, I think he played the Scottish, right? Yeah, made the cut at the Scottish. I do worry a little bit about, he's lost ball striking in 3 straight, but can he reset, take a couple weeks off, get back to this form, and go to a course that he's had success at, T16, and, oh, by the way, this is like one of the weaker fields he's played in a long time. So interested to see if he can continue to if he can get back on track. If you want a little bit of a more volatile play, Lee Hodges is here. So Lee Hodges is either going to miss the cut or he's going to finish like T12. So he's at the bottom of the $7,000 range. And, we're seeing the pop putting, which is good. Generally, a good ball striker gains multiple strokes there. Missed the cut at the Open Championship. I'm not going to blame him for that. Finished T12 at the Scottish. Again, missed 2 missed cuts before that, but he's played well. So he's basically got 4 top 30s in his last 7. Missed the cut at a major. Missed the cut at an elevated event. I don't really care about that. This is a pretty good stat profile for somebody who's down here in the low 7,000s. I'm still waiting to find my other guy. I think he's probably even cheaper than this. Wow. Is he real? How cheap is he? Wow, I saw him. He's very cheap. Okay. Michael Kim at 69. I got to pitch Michael Kim. Dude, can we get like 1,000 people to pay Michael Kim $10 a week for his course previews and stuff? Put him on RickRunGood.com. He tweets out such good stuff, and from the perspective of a professional golfer is so different. Like a guy who has to play the golf course and what's good, and he's pretty candid about the strengths and weaknesses. I'm like, dude, you could probably make like 10K a week just selling your, I don't know. That's maybe we'll crowdsource a sponsor for our Rick Run Good logo on his bag and get his course previews every single week. The 6K range is pretty sour. You've got Adam Long, who's got decent history around here, playing horrible. Joel Damon played well for a very long time last week at the Barracuda, which is good to see because he's been really struggling. Pull up his stat profile here. So he ended up finishing T10 last week, which is off of 5 consecutive missed cuts. The good sign is he gained 7 strokes on approach, which if you remember when he was, we're pretty far removed from it, but when he has success, it generally comes from his approach play. So I would not mind giving him one more crack at it to see if he has fixed it, to see if he has found something, because the rest of this range is pretty bad. Ryan Gerard was in the mix for a long time. I think he missed the playoff by, I was going to say by a stroke, but it was by like 2 points in the Stableford system, right? Yeah, and he finished T26 at the John Deere. Ryan Gerard, remember when he got his special temporary membership status, everyone was like, oh my God, this guy's amazing. He finished 4th at the Honda, again, pretty decent comp. And then he got bad for a while. We're starting to see that better play again. So I would not mind going back to Ryan Gerard. Still have not gotten to my guy yet. I think we can get to him now. $6,500. Frankie Sappin. It is pronounced Sappin. Capan, not Capin. So I will let you guys in on a little bit of an insight here. He is, actually, I've got 2 records for him. Frankie Sappin the third. I'll merge these records. Okay. So, very, very volatile, right? Does not have his tour card yet. He is 32nd in the Korn Ferry points list. He will top 30 get their tour cards. There is this, so between like people who are very deep in this, there is this kind of like, wow, Frankie Sappin's going to be the PGA Tour Rookie of the Year whenever he's eligible. Very powerful. He is top 20 in driving distance on the Korn Ferry. He is top 10 in birdie or better percentage. He is quite raw. You can see, he's got the 4th place finish at the start of July at the Memorial Health Championship, T14 at that event like 2 weeks ago on the Korn Ferry, and he missed the cut last week at the Price Cutter. He's going to miss a lot of cuts. When things go right, he finishes top 5, top 10, top 15 on the Korn Ferry Tour. This is probably one of the better spots for him, right? If you're going to come up and play and you can kind of blast it around without regard, go make a bunch of birdies, very powerful. But there is a lot of people who are very like deep in this who think Frankie Sappin is going to be like the PGA Tour's Rookie of the Year whenever he's eligible, right? Which is hopefully next year, right? But $6,500, a little bit of an unknown entity, is a lot more exciting than Bryce Garnett, Aaron Baddeley, Tyler Duncan, Jimmy Walker. No offense to those guys. Really, really cool skill set. Very, very powerful. Preston Summerhays is here. The Summerhays family, $6,300. I don't expect much, but man, that family just breeds golfers. Anybody else here? I think that's it. Okay, let's run a model, and let's run. Do we want to run the distance model, or do we want to run the accuracy? Let's run the distance model. Who cares? We can do both on Wednesday. We'll do one now, or you can. This is the model at RickRunGood.com. Custom model. You can go do anything you want. So let's do a couple of items here. Let's do driving distance 15, 5 on accuracy. Approach play. Let's do strokes gained approach last 36 for 20. Just to be nice to around the green, I'll do, around the green last 100 for 5, and then I'm going to go down to bent grass putting and put 12 there. I'm also going to put 5 on bonus putting, which, by the way, Brian Harman smashed bonus putting last week, didn't he? He made every putt within 10 feet except one, and then he made a bunch of like 25 footers, which is kind of sick. Course history, I'm going to go TPC Twin Cities and put 10 there. I'm going to put 5 on PGA National, and I'm going to put 5 on Detroit Golf Club. We have 18 left. They've got some kind of longer par 3s around here. Let's do 8. We have 18 left. Let's do, how about bogey avoidance? That could be interesting on a week like this. Let's put 10 on bogey avoidance and our final 8 on birdies or better gained. My number one golfer, oh boy, Tony Finau. Oh boy. Emiliano Grillo second. Mark Hubbard. Okay, so Mark Hubbard has now popped up just routinely all over the place, right? I mean, it was like raw strokes gained. It was course fit, I think he popped up on. Now he's third in the model at 8,300. Is Mark Hubbard winning this thing? Gary Woodland. He's actually not bad on bent grass. He's like a 0. Sung Jae, Adam Hadwin, Patrick Rogers, Hideki, Austin Eckroat is 9. Sepp is 10. Peter Quest is 11. I'm going to look through here real quick. Vincent Norman, $8,100. He's 19th. Carson Young, that's a big jump. $6,800. He's 14th. The problem with like my guys like Sappin is like just literally like no stats on him, so he's not gonna show up anywhere. Dude, Cam Young is 18th, or I'm sorry, 38th for me. Accuracy gets a knock there, gets a knock on bogey avoidance, gets a knock on putting on bent grass, gets a knock on bonus putting. Yeah, cool. All right, well, listen, I'll save this. This is our, okay, I'm going to call this 2023 3M Monday Bombers, which is crazy because Mark Hubbard's here. Mark Hubbard is like, is Mark Hubbard winning this? Because this model this wasn't even a good model for him. And you can see he's 103rd in driving distance, but everything else, he's like top 25 or 30. If I ran the accuracy model, he'd be even higher probably. Is Hubbard going to win? This shouldn't even be a good model for him. That's wild. I'm writing his name down because I'm going to have to bet him now. Hubbard. What are his odds? Sorry. I mean, if you've made it this far, like, what are his odds? Mark Hubbard. 3M Open. He is 45-1. Not bad. All right. RickRunGood.com. All the stuff you saw is from there. Giant database for golf betting and fantasy golf. You should go sign up for it. It's awesome. I love it. You'll love it. Fill up that splash contest. Links in the description. We'll rock and roll that. 250 entries. We'll just knock it out and be done with it. And we'll, everybody can win a little bit of money. I think that's it. Enjoy the week. It's going to be awesome. Talk to you guys. See ya.